Nelson.
Here.
Zach Long.
Excellent. Next up, let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up, we'll move on to number 4, approval of the minutes. If there aren't any changes or corrections to the minutes dated August 23rd of 2022, do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Loops, support by Commissioner Joliet. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it's approved. Next up, we'll move on to item number 5, which is the approval of the agenda. If there aren't any corrections or changes, do we have a motion to approve our agenda this morning? Motion by Commissioner Loops, support by Commissioner Jackson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Next up, we'll move on to item number 6, which is our first public comment. And as a reminder, this first public comment is for items that are related and on our agenda this morning. So at this time, I'd like to open up public comment. And if there's anyone from the public who would like to speak, please make your way down to the end of the table. State your name, community in which you reside in, and the item in which you'll be speaking on. Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Catherine Kennedy from Lake Orion, and the item I'll be speaking on is, well, everything on the regular agenda pretty much. Parks and Recreation. I actually have an issue with the fact that it's a separate authority, and we changed a merit position to a director position, created a new department, and now we have extra tax implications for the citizens. I think it's abuse of power. I think we're overtaxing our citizens to the point that we're going to have substantial problems in our communities, and the recession is just starting no matter whether they try to redefine it or not. The fact that we have B, C, D, E are all raises. So we're at a point where we have inflation at record highs. So we got 5% raises across the board for everybody on top of we already did 15 last year for COVID. And how many raises do you think we can afford to support in this county? So almost the entire agenda is to give people raises that already got a lot of raises, in spite of the fact we've lost a quarter of our businesses that create the jobs in Oakland County. And our government is literally inviting people to acquire our businesses and real estate. The new sales foreclosure process that they just completed August 12th was done online, and non-citizens only had to fill out a piece of paper and have a credit card to buy our tax foreclosed property. That is a shame. That is not okay. And you cry about, oh yeah, affordable housing. No, everything you're doing here is the opposite of affordable housing, unless you're a non-citizen that doesn't pay taxes. So this everything in this committee is ridiculous. To have this many raises for this many people in this many departments when so many in the community are struggling to put food on the table. You realize that, right? I guess I don't understand how it's possible to not realize that our citizens are suffering because of the policies that have been brought forth by this government. And this body has been going lockstep, the exact same proposals, the exact same policies that are creating the inflation problem that is starving our country. So all these things that you keep doing, and we keep trying to call green energy and spending money that way, when it's actually not green at all. Did you know those wind turbines require oil? And if we didn't destroy our own oil and gas industry, which, by the way, American production was the cleanest of all, we are instead spending money on things like that here that are made in China, guys. They're not even green. How many batteries get recycled? How much chemicals and minerals are dug from the earth for that? And did you know China owns 60% of all the rare earth minerals necessary to build these things that we're spending all this money on, giving money to we're giving money to foreigners to take over our region and to destroy our economy. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak at this time? Please make your way to the head of the table. State your name, community in which you reside in, and which item on the agenda you will be speaking to. Good morning.
Okay,
Please state your name, community in which you reside in, and what item you'll be speaking to.
my name is Christina Bood. I reside in Wayne County, but my mother had business here and lived in Oakland County. She is now deceased because of a nefarious guardian, illegal guardianship. And I am here to report on the condition of the courts and the safety factor, which is dangerous, and for litigants to go back into court and to have,
I am so sorry to interrupt you, but what item on our agenda are you speaking to?
well, unfortunately, I was sitting for half an hour in the auditorium where it's usually held, and people came in, but nobody came up to me to tell me it was in here. So I haven't even seen the agenda.
Okay.
And they should have told me.
I do believe that the topic in which you're discussing is not on our agenda, but you are more than welcome to speak during our second public comment, which is on any item on or off the agenda.
And what time, when is that?
So that'll be at the latter part of our meeting. It's the second to last item on our agenda this morning.
At what time?
Depends on how fast we can get through our agenda.
All right, so I stay in this room?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak on items related to our agenda this morning for our first public comment? Seeing none, I will close our first public comment. Next up, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 5 items. Item A, recognizing the second Monday of October as Indigenous Peoples' Day. Item B, designating October 2022 as National Attention Deficit Hyperdisorder Awareness Month in Oakland County. Item C, Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Oakland County. Item D, October 2022 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in Oakland County. And item E, which is recognizing October 2022 as National Disability Employment Awareness Month here in Oakland County. Do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Loops, support by Commissioner Gershenson. Commissioners, is there any discussion on these items? Seeing none, please prompt the vote.
Yeah, 5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. Next up, we're going to move on down to item A of our regular agenda. We have reorganization of the Parks and Recreation Department. Do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Loops, support by Commissioner Gershenson. And I believe we've got our Parks and Rec Director, Chris Ward, and Melissa Prowse. So good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thanks for taking up this item and considering it. This is an item that was a long time in coming and represents multiple different issues. We had, early on in the year, our Parks Commission took up a resolution approving a reorganization of our department, focus on some priority areas that we're driving our organization towards, and that includes a DEI coordinator position, which is in your resolution here today. It's an important role for us as a department that delivers services to 2 million visitors a year and a workforce of over 80 full-time, part-time, year-round individuals and over 600 seasonal positions that we fill on an annual basis. And as was mentioned, we are millage funded, so there's also a responsibility to make sure that all of our taxpayers receive fair and equitable benefit for the taxes that they pay. So we are really looking to lean in this area of diversity, equity, and inclusion and work on building out increased diversity in our workforce as well. We are also looking to deal with multiple issues of chronic understaffing on the front lines of delivering services. So you'll see in this resolution, groundskeepers, construction inspectors, various crew chief positions that deliver services on the ground at our parks, where our folks have been awfully stretched thin, especially through the pandemic. And coming out of that, this opportunity with the new increased millage allows us to reinvest back into our workforce. And in line with those millage initiatives that were part of the approval of an increased millage 2 years ago, there's a natural resources and invasive species outreach specialist that is in this recreation programming position as well that will support our outreach initiatives, our RAP program that I know you're all very familiar with, that delivers services, recreation program services to our communities. There's multiple items in here that align classifications to the appropriate comparable positions and their current duties. And also incorporating this there's a realignment of how we're organized so that it'll provide us the flexibility to administratively move positions within various units in the organization. It gives us a lot more ability to be nimble to deal with the evolving issues that come up at parks and priorities, sometimes focus from different parks, different times of the year, and depending on our operations and services. Melissa, do you have anything you want to
No, I think that's.
add on to that? Happy to answer any questions you have.
Well, thank you. Commissioners, questions, comments? Commissioner Jackson?
Thank you. I want to say that I'm really happy to see that Parks and Rec Department is looking at a DE&I person, and just want to reiterate that this work, a lot of people just look at it as far as positions to improve or address racial inequities. But at the same time, these positions look at ageism, different types of disability-led issues that we have to keep in mind when we offer services to our public. So as we talk about this, if we get any pushback as far as their role, we must stay focused on that they look at all type of inclusion. And so I'm happy to see that you have gone in that direction to put a person in that magnitude under Parks and Rec. So
Thanks,
thank you.
Commissioner. Thanks for highlighting that. That's absolutely true. And there are so many different aspects of what this position would focus on and bring a lens and an area of expertise to that will really enhance our ability to serve all of people of the county and create a welcoming environment that they will want to come enjoy our services and come to our parks.
Thank you.
Commissioner Joliet, followed by Commissioner Gershenson.
Thank you. Good morning. I think these positions, obviously, Parks and Rec has had some overhaul issues and had to be addressed for the new environment that we're in. I'm trying to see how many positions are being deleted and then reclassified. So it looks like, are you deleting 2 full-time and 3 part-time? And then reclassifying?
Which is that on?
So we're creating 5 new full-time and 3 new part-time positions and deleting 3 part-time positions. But then we're also creating 6 new classifications. So it's a little bit of
Yeah, I
both
guess
of those things.
so what is the financial impact at the end?
There's a maximum financial impact of $487,000, and that's based upon filling positions at the highest level of compensation.
So, okay. So that's yearly,
Yes.
annually? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gershenson.
Well, before I make the comment I was going to make, just to follow up on Commissioner Joliet, so is that revenue that's coming from the millage?
All of our funding comes from the millage or user fees from, attending and, a golf course or campground, water park, et cetera.
Okay. So I also am very happy to look at this reorg because you've come into a new position, you've kind of assessed what you need to strengthen your department, and also you're now responsible to deliver services to the public because of the millage. So I think this is a very thoughtful reorg, and I also like the way you handled the shortage of lifeguards. We seem to be on the right path, so I appreciate this report and really support it.
Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate your support of the lifeguard incentives that made a major difference in our trajectory. I think we had more than double the number of applicants within 2 weeks of when you approved that. So played a key role in our ability to open both water parks for the first time in 3 years and scale up our hours of operation in July.
Excellent. Any further discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none, please prompt the vote.
Yeah, 5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nay, motion carries. Thank you so much, Melissa and Chris, for joining us this morning. Next up, item number B, Human Resources, Other Action, Fiscal Year 2023, Salary Recommendation for Non-Represented Employees. Commissioners, do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Jackson, support by Commissioner Lubes. And I believe we've got April joining us this morning, so welcome, and welcome, Heather.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. I also have Kyle Jen on the line as well, our Director of M&B, if we have any further questions. As placed in the original budget that was delivered to the Commission, this is our formal request for a 5% pay increase for all general salary, or for the general salary increase. This includes all non-represented. This does not include, it's always important, does not include the judges. There's a set by the state court administrator. With this as well, we have a variety of our other unions as well that have what we call a Me Too clause. So they too in turn would get the 5% pay increase, of which is in your budget. And then as also in here are some, as we do approve, this is called our salary plan for the year. There also includes some adjustments that some of the departments wanted to make throughout all of their budgets that you would have heard throughout all of your budget hearings as well, all in one location. And I have, we can open up for questions with either Heather, myself, or Kyle.
Excellent. So what criteria and what led the discussion with a recommendation of a 5% general salary increase, and specifically even more so, especially after our compensation study, right? I know that we've extensively talked about the increases that many employees received as a result of the compensation study being completed. So what was utilized to drive this 5% recommendation increase for non-represented employees?
Sure. I can get it started, and I'll ask Kyle to step in too if he needs to add anything to that. So we did do a compensation study in 2020. That was to bring us up to market. One of the things that's important when you do a compensation study is you have to stay at market. So when you start looking at what general salary increases should look like, you take a look over time of where inflation or CPI has been, as well as local communities or anything surrounding the Southeast Michigan area. And so when we took a look at where we needed to be for this year, Kyle took a lot of information based on CPI with the state, general inflationary rates, and looked at the average pay increases that we were seeing throughout the lower Southeast Michigan. I don't know if, Kyle, you want to add to that, but that's where we came up with the 5% back in June. So a lot of information that comes into that. We want to try to stay at market as much as possible.
Good morning, Kyle.
Good morning. I don't know why my camera's not working, but I'm here. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Give us one moment, Kyle. We're working on our volume situation here. I apologize.
Sure.
How's that?
I think so. Kyle, was there anything that you wanted to add?
I would just, echo April's thoughts. Certainly we're trying to balance, I think 3 things. One is the pressure that our employees and all residents are feeling in terms of higher costs of living. We have inflation for the current year that's likely to be, up in the 8 to 9% range. So we know we can't make up all of that. But we want to, recognize that there are higher costs out there. secondly is just what April said in terms of what our competitors, for talent and qualified employees are doing. We know the state of Michigan is doing 5% this year. And I think we've seen higher increases across both the public and private sector. And then thirdly, we want to make sure, obviously, we can afford, what increase we provide. And this 5% increase is built into the budget recommendation, that we presented in July, and that the Finance Committee has now reported out, and that the board will take up in a couple weeks here, so that we've got this fully accounted for, and as part of that structurally balanced budget that we've presented to you. So those are the, the three main factors, I think.
Excellent, thank you. Kyle, do we know how many non-represented employees Oakland County presently has?
I don't have that number handy. I don't know if Heather has that in her head.
Oh, I think April may.
I do. It's about 1,500.
And do we know roughly how many individuals make less than $100,000?
Oh, no, I do not have that information. I'd have to look into that for you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Joliet?
So, yeah, thank you. I see here, too, that you're requiring employees to contribute biweekly the $10 for healthcare.
That'll be the next one, yes.
Is that the next? Okay, I'm jumping ahead. All right. Well, to address the fact that I'm not excited about 5% raise, but inflation is at 8% right now, and there is still a huge hiring gap, a worker shortage, and our employees are having to keep up with that, which is concerning. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Jackson.
I just want to make note of the creation of new classifications, and I'm going back here again to DE&I, and I see that there are two DE&I. There's an analyst position and a coordinator position proposed, and I just want to say I feel as though that was needed, and the former DE&I person and the Equity Council had, made note that there was no staff, that she was like a lone wolf, and it was not very easy for her to operate in that mode. So I'm glad to see that these new classifications are being created. So that's it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any further discussion on this item? Commissioner Gershenson.
So thank you, Commissioner Jackson, for bringing that particular point up. And on the sustainability, so that would be another person working under Aaron? Okay, well, I think that's also a very good idea.
Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, please prompt the vote.
Yeah, 5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nay, motion carries. Next up, we'll move on to item C, which again is Human Resources Resolution approving biweekly employee healthcare contribution increase. Do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Lubes, support by Commissioner Jackson. And good morning.
Thank you. I have Stephanie Bedricky with me. She is our supervisor over benefits and wellness, just in case we have more detailed questions. But we had, I believe back in April, made a presentation to the board regarding some of the, a 5-year plan as relates to helping to navigate and manage our healthcare costs. We actually implemented an employee benefits task force that is still going strong, and that helped us actually create that 5-year plan. And the 5-year plan was designed to help control healthcare costs through employee support, as well as making sure that behind the scenes administratively we were doing all we can to control our costs. So this is one of the first outcomes of the benefits task force, that this year will be the first year that they'll be looking at an increase in contribution of $10 biweekly. This was again the overall plan that was helped created by the Benefits Task Force. All of the unions support this plan as well, and they will also be implementing the same $10 biweekly increase in their contributions. This will be the first one in over a decade of increase that employees have seen within their health care plans. And we still continue to use the Benefit Task Force as we start looking forward to creative ways of looking at our plan designs and our plans that we have, and any other creative ways and solutions we can have to continue to save costs. So this would apply to all of the employees as it relates to that increase. And so it'll be $10 starting January 1st, actually, per pay period.
And this is a flat rate, $10 for employees, doesn't matter how much you're making?
Right,
It's
correct.
just a flat rate. Was there any consideration given to, given that it is a flat rate, so you have individuals who may be making $30,000 versus individuals who are making $200,000, was there any conversation or discussion in regards and in relation to why a flat rate and maybe not looking at the
Yes.
income and salaries?
There was a
that
lot of
individuals bring in?
conversation about that, yes. So as part of the task force, we were working with these groups of folks to try to understand the culture as it relates to benefits here in Oakland County. One of the things that we are looking at as we move in the future is taking a look at, different classifications in comparison to what they make and what they contribute. But the Benefits Task Force at this time, given that there hadn't been an increase in so long, that it wasn't necessarily something they were opposed to, but not really amenable to at this point of taking a look at a tiered approach. We looked at a lot of different options. One of the things that we are looking at, though, too, is because I understand that to continue to keep doing that is not necessarily fair across the board. We looked at deductible plans as well, where depending on how much you use, that was definitely something that came out of the task force as well, that even having the deductible program that, you kind of pay for it as you need it, caused a lot of consternation. And so one of the things that we are doing in January is all of our program, or all of our benefit plans are ready to be up for bid. We are going to be looking at a much stronger, more modern, narrow network, which is so similar to an HMO, but it's more of a modern approach to it. It's kind of complicated to say, but it's actually a lot cheaper. So we want to be able to provide other alternatives for those that may not want to contribute to that biweekly, and also looking at potential for higher deductible plans as well. Why not getting rid of the PPO 1 and 2 that our employees seem to like so much, but adding other options as well for those employees while still getting high quality healthcare options. So we're looking at all of that as well.
When are the healthcare contracts going out to bid?
In January of this year.
So
23.
what was the reason and purpose of going forward with this increase now, as opposed to, given that we are so close to going out to bid in January of 2023?
Right.
Why are we starting, what was the purpose of doing the increase now?
Right. Because the 5-year plan includes both support from employees and from administration. So in order to control costs, again, we haven't seen an increase in healthcare costs to our employees in well over 10 years. It's actually been longer than that. And so part of it is, in most instances, you see some sort of increase in healthcare. So just by going out to bid isn't going to be, it could save some money, but the cost of healthcare is so high, you can't actually really save money. You try to control costs. So there has to be kind of a give and take with employees as well. And again, we try to keep it as low as we can. We don't have another increase or a contribution or a change until 25. So we're not doing massive changes, and by then we can take a look at what our other options are.
Excellent. And just finally, what was led to the determination of the $900,000 being saved? Can you break that down and how that was determined?
Sure, it's $10 per biweekly, so it would be $260 per employee. Most of our employees take our health care. There's a few, we maybe have 100 that opt out.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Commissioners, questions, comments? Commissioner Gershenson.
Well, you covered most of my questions. However, what if this doesn't go through, what sort of implications would it have for our budget?
It would be, there would be less $900,000 savings in the fringe fund.
Okay, so the reason then for this is pretty much you think the savings and then to deal with the fact that healthcare costs have gone up?
Yeah, we average about 5 overall, over a 10-year time period, over 5% each year. And so when you don't have any employee support in those contributions, we take on all of that. So it's just a way to help manage that in a better way. And again, we haven't seen an increase in about well over 10 years. I think 2013 was the last major contribution shift that has happened.
Right.
And that was just for
actually
some of
here
them.
it's 2009.
Yeah, some of them, yep. Some people haven't seen it since 2009.
Okay, thank you.
And just also too, we met with all of the unions have this in their new contracts.
What about the UAW?
We have similar to them, yeah. They'll be getting the same thing. We're working with them right now. They put parameters within their contract which are well below or above this.
You haven't finalized that contract with UAW?
Oh, no, they're finalized. Yeah, they had a different, we'll be working with them to do the same thing. Yeah, we're meeting what's in their contract was more vague. But yes, they'll be doing the same thing. I'm sorry, I'm being more complicated, but yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Julia.
Thank you. Coming from local, I know that we have done this in the past to lower our healthcare costs, and employees and retirees were very open to this, realizing how healthcare costs have accelerated. So by doing this, this will make our negotiation for the HMO more favorable in terms of being more cost effective with employees. Okay, thank
That's
you.
our goal.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, please prompt the vote.
You have 4 yeas and 1 nay.
4 yeas, 1 nay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll move on to item number D, which again is Human Resources, resolution adopting compensation adjustments for county commissioners for the 2023 term of office. And it looks like we've got, again, Heather and April. But do we have a motion first? A motion by Commissioner Gershenson, seconded by Commissioner Jackson.
Sorry, I didn't know my name was on this one. I'm actually going to turn it over to Heather on this one. I see that her camera is on.
No problem. Good morning, Heather.
You're on mute.
Oh. Heather, if you could just wait 1 moment. Oh, there we go.
There we go. Good morning. So as you're aware, the Public Act 261 of 1966 sets the compensation, says that the compensation for the Board of Commissioners members is fixed. And it now is set for 2-year terms. So the Board of Commissioners has to set their salary for the upcoming term of office. And the last increase was in 21, where the Board of Commissioners took a 0% increase for 2021 and 22. So at this point, it's appropriate that you would make a recommendation for the Board of Commissioners compensation for the term of office from January 1, 23 and effective June 24.
Could you repeat that? You cut out, Heather. What was the date? What were the dates?
Effective January 1, 2023 and January 1, 2024.
Excellent. And just to kind of further enhance what Heather had just shared. So again, as she has shared, that Public Act 261 of the 1966 states that the compensation of the members of the Board of Commissioners shall be fixed by resolution approved by the Board of Commissioners. And the statute further states that the compensation changes for county commissioners are effective only after the commencement of a new term of office following a general election. So in simple terms, every other year during an election year is when this business comes before us as the legislative body of the general government committee. With that being said, I'd also like to just share that when one of the questions that I had as we received this item was how have we done this in the past? And I'm really happy to say that truly between previous administration and now present administration, how this has been determined in the past has aligned with the salary increase proposed in our budget. And so historically, you can go all the way back. I know that I have asked for a table that really went all the way back to, I think, 2009 to present. And what I saw was essentially that the pattern of the percent recommendation increased for commissioners aligned with the salary percent increase that was proposed by administration in the budget. So with that being said, what I would like to propose and put on the table for discussion, as well as any other numbers, is thoughts on the 5% increase that the employees are receiving and amending the resolution to include that 5%. But I'm happy to open it up and gain more insight and input from all of you. Commissioner Gershenson.
So you mentioned that you asked for a breakdown of past years. I'd like to see that.
Sure. We can get staff.
I couldn't get it.
There's a 10-year history attached.
The 10-year history goes to the unions. Oh, it's further down.
There's-
Okay, I see.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
3 tabs.
Okay.
Is there something specific, Commissioner, that you would like to see?
No, I just wanted to see that history. I thought,
So what is attached as the 10-year history of increases is for the collective bargaining agreements.
There should be, so that was Excel spreadsheet, and there's 3 on that. The second tab is the 10-year
I see.
history of general salary increases for commissioners, elected officials, and the non-represented.
Thank you. So I now see it. I'm sorry, I was confused by the 3rd tab. But, so in 2022, the commissioners didn't take anything, but the employees were given a 1.5?
That's correct.
Okay. And then, so that was this year. So next year, you're recommending a 5% for all across the board? Including elected?
For the non-represented, yes, the county executive doesn't make a recommendation for the elected officials.
We do that?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Loops, followed by Commissioner Jackson.
According to this chart, of the last 10 years, 4 of those years have been no increase for elected officials. The 6 years of increases was either 2%, in 2 years, 3% for that. So this item we're voting on now is for commissioners and not all elected officials.
That is
because
correct.
there
That
are
is
more
the next
elected
agenda
officials.
item. This is specific just to the Board of Commissioners.
Thank you.
And what you'll find that within the resolution, so that first now therefore be resolved clause. So it states that the Oakland County Board of Commissioners authorizes a blank percent adjustment compensation for all members of the Board of Commissioners that is effective January 1st of 2023. And then you'll find another blank with a percent compensation adjustment effective for January 1st of 2024. Because this happens every other year versus our employees within the budget that's being recommended and proposed comes forward every year with a % increase for employees. Does that make sense? Commissioner, I think Jackson, followed by Commissioner Gershenson.
Thank you. I just want to just state for clarification in the record that what we come to as a result of percentages can still be changed after this committee or voted up or down by the full board. So what we're offering today is a recommendation.
Correct.
In agreement with the non-represented employees if that's what we feel. But it's not etched in stone what we decide upon here in this committee.
That is correct.
Because
So just as any other
going back-
business that would come before us, it'd be a recommendation. So the recommendation has come to us as the general government body. And then from here, it would then go to the full board for, and goes to finance too. So that's a good point, thank you. Is that both this item and the next item not only go here to this committee, it'll go to finance, and then it will hit the full board. But again,
Yes.
between now and then, nothing is etched in stone.
And I just wanted to make that clear for the record.
Sure, thank you,
Thank
Commissioner.
you.
I believe we've got Commissioner Joliet, followed by Commissioner Gershenson.
Thank you. So this is my first round doing this. This is a very uncomfortable position, but that being said, to follow history, that we have always gone with what the general employees have gone with. We have broke suit a couple of times, last year with being COVID, the last 2 years, and then it looks like with the last recession in '06 that there was a no raise. I feel that we are all part-time, and I don't feel that there's a shortage of people wanting our positions. So I don't feel comfortable with a 5% raise. I'd feel comfortable with a 2.5% raise just for cost of living. So that's my recommendation.
So just for clarification, Commissioner Joliet, given that there are 2 blanks that we're looking at with inserting a number, one being for 2023, one being for 2024, the input that you just gave, is that considering 2023 and 2024?
Yes.
So
2.5 and 2.5.
2.5, and you would be okay with 2.5 and 2.5, is that what I'm hearing?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, just for
Yep.
clarification.
Yep.
Gotcha. Commissioner Gershenson.
Just to clarify, so that would be 5 at 2024?
No,
2.5 and
it would be
2.5.
2.5, but, so you'd do 2.5 the first year, and then you
Yeah,
do
right.
2.5.
So
Yeah, the
it's still
second year.
5.
Because
Yeah.
from what I'm hearing, it's 5 and 3 right now, right?
5 and 3, where are you getting the 3%?
Yeah, we're just talking about the 5.
I thought that I guess that the executive hasn't made a recommendation for 2024 for employees. I thought it was a 5 and a 3. Or maybe I'm getting that from the union contract.
No, the tentative for the 5-year plan, the 5-year budget is 5 and 3.
That's where I'm getting it.
Yeah. Okay, Commissioners, does that make sense where the 3 came from? Given that we do this every other year, this resolution will encompass both compensation increases for 2023 and 2024. It's proposed for our fiscal year 2024 budget, that 3%. So the fiscal year budget 2022 is 5%, 2024 is 3%. Did I say the numbers wrong?
Yeah, you got it right,
Yes,
yeah.
right. So
Yes.
you have a 3-year budgeting cycle, so you're technically only approving year 1 officially, but you make recommendations for year 2 and 3, and then we do a fiscal forecast for the following 2, so.
So I get that,
No,
All right, well,
go
then
ahead, Commissioner.
I get that 23 is 5, so what are you saying 24 is?
In the recommended executive's budget for 24 is a 3 recommended, but that's, 5, 3, and then I think 2, 2. Kyle?
Okay.
And that,
Heather?
that is a placeholder.
Yes.
And That will come before you next year to vote on.
Okay.
That's a tentative number.
Okay. So I also wanted to say that during very difficult, heated discussions in 2020, when we discussed this, and it's always an uncomfortable discussion, and yet being compensated for your work should not be as uncomfortable as it is, in my opinion. But it was also discussed at that time that we would relook at that zero decision and talk about perhaps compensating back for those years. And that was a discussion amongst all the commissioners. Now, I'm not suggesting that right now, but I just think this is committees where you discuss things.
Sure.
And this is, I just wanted to remind commissioners, and you weren't there, that was part of the intent with taking zero, was that if things got better, we would relook at that decision. However, for the not proposing any back raise, I am comfortable with the 5%.
So to clarify, Commissioner, when you say you're comfortable with the 5%,
For
are you
this year.
splitting it 2.5, 2.5, or are you saying you're comfortable with doing January 1st, 2023, 5%?
Right.
And then we are also tasked with a percent increase for 2024.
And that's 3.
And that is 3. That was the 3 that was recommended.
That's the placeholder in '24.
A placeholder, but that's also what all of the employees will be getting.
It's a placeholder, yes, for now.
I am comfortable.
So then you're recommending the 5% for for starting January 1st, 2023, and then inserting the 3% for fiscal year 2024.
I am.
Okay, thank you. Just for clarification, Commissioner Joliet.
Yes, I'm familiar. I wasn't part of the board. I was on the call, though, listening in. And I remember it was quite a long call. And I thought, what am I getting myself into? But anyway, looking back at the history that we were furnished with when there was a raise freeze back during the recession, and then it was, I think it was like a 3-year freeze, and then it went back up. It wasn't made whole. Just because we were recovering. I know the county was recovering from such a loss. And so I guess that's why I'm suggesting the 2.5%.
Okay, so Commissioner Joliet, for clarification, you are recommending 2.5% for January 1st, 2023, and a 2.5% compensation adjustment effective January 1st, 2024.
Correct.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson? Did I see?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Commissioner Loops?
I agree with the 2.5 for the first year. The second year, maybe 1.5. As leaders, everything starts from the top when we're role models. Although we're in the same boat as everybody else. We put our pants on the same way as everybody else, and we feed our families the same way as everybody else. So I'm good with the 2.5 or the 1.5.
I'd support that, yeah.
Okay. So is there any further numbers that would be like to be brought out to the table? Okay, so as it stands, we have recommendation of 2.5 for January 1st, 2023, followed by, let me restate that. So Commissioner Gershenson has brought forward a 5.5% for January. That would be effective January 1st of 2023, and a 3% compensation adjustment that would be effective in January 1st of 2024. Commissioner Joliet, supported by Commissioner Lubes, brought forward a 2.5% adjustment that would be effective of January 1st, 2023, and then another 2.5% compensation adjustment that would be effective of January 1st of 2024. Commissioner Joliet?
I'm comfortable with Commissioner Lubes' recommendation of 1.5 for the 2024.
Okay. So 2.5 2023? 1.5, 2024. Is that what I'm hearing? Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you. I'd like to support Commissioner Gershensen's recommendation, just from the history of our pay increases in the past and how many times that we have chosen to forego any type of increase. I do wish this chart, I think I heard someone say, or maybe say, wish it went back to 2009 when we were in the throes of a recession at that time. It would show more declined increases as, further back than 10 years to those years. So basically, for 2023, which we're really voting on, if you look at it and you divide it by 3, which takes us back to, let's see, the year of 2021 and 2022 when we had no increases. So if we divided that by 3 years, that 5%, what would that be? Anybody, somebody? I got my calculator out here.
That's all I can figure.
So it'd be less than 2% a term year. So if you look at it like that, and going back to the discussion that was brought up that we determined at that time, we would go back and kind of, reflect upon what we gave up the prior years. This 5% is not really out of line with what the general non-represented employees got, because they got 2% in 2020 and 1.5% in 2022.
Okay.
So I could go with the 5% for 2023 and the 3% proposed for 2024.
Thank you, Commissioner. So then, just to recap, because I think it would be best to probably move forward with a vote on the 2 proposals that have been brought forward. So before we go forward with a motion to amend, I'd like to do, I'll start off, Commissioner Gershensen has made a motion for, let me just get up. I apologize, my screen. So Commissioner Gershensen has made a motion for a 5% adjustment in compensation for all members of the Board of Commissioners. That'd be effective at the commencement of the new term of office, January 1st of 2023, and a 3% compensation adjustment effective January 1st of 2024. Do we have support? Commissioner Jackson supports. Commissioners, any discussion or further discussion? Seeing none. Oh,
I'm sorry, tell me the amounts again.
sure. Commissioner Gershensen has made a motion for a 5% compensation adjustment effective January 1st of 2023 and a 3% compensation adjustment that would be effective January 1st of 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, please prompt the vote.
On the 5 and 3 amendment, you have two yeas, 3 nays.
2 yeas, 3 nays, motion fails. I believe Commissioner Joliet had made a motion to support a 2.5% increase that is effective at the commencement of the new term of office January 1st of 2023, and a 1.5% compensation adjustment effective January 1st of 2024. Did I say that right? So motion by Commissioner Joliet, support by Commissioner Lubes. Any further discussion on those percentages? Seeing none, please prompt the vote.
yeas and 2 nays.
3 yeas, 2 nay, motion passes.
And then we do still have to do the main one as amended.
Yeah. So commissioners, given the passing of the 2.5% compensation adjustment effective January 2023 and the 1.5 compensation adjustment effective January 1st of 2024, do we have a motion to amend?
We've already voted to amend. We just have to vote the main motion as amended, and we already have a first and second.
So the motion as amended, do I just
Basically, we're back to the original motion as amended. So we don't need a new first and second. We can, if there's no further discussion, we can have the vote.
Okay. So, to recap, the second to last, now therefore be resolved clause in this resolution is being proposed to state that the Oakland County Board of Commissioners authorizes a 2.5% adjustment in compensation for all members of the Board of Commissioners effective at the commencement of the new term of office on January 1st of 2023, and a 1.5% compensation adjustment effective January 1st of 2024. Is there any further discussion on these numbers? I would like to just say, this is a difficult conversation and a sticky, political per se, agenda item. It's historically always been a dreaded item because it is uncomfortable as an elected official to talk about and recommend percent increases as elected officials, and not just only for us as the Board of Commissioners, but also as we'll lead into our next agenda item with other elected officials here in the county. One of the things I want to bring up, and it's time-wise, it's too late to have this as a consideration, but I really think that as we go into the next year of January 2023, I would really hope that this body could further discuss and look into a county compensation commission to assist and lead in the compensation of elected officials, not just here at the Board of Commissioners, but also the other county elected officials. It's an independent body that would be put together, and this is by statute, of I believe it's 7 registered voters. And really just in light of, it is a very tricky, yucky piece of business that we do as the General Government Committee have to take up. So I definitely would like to strongly emphasize that as we lead into the next year, that this board and body takes a look at the creation of a county compensation commission that would handle the recommendation of the business that we just did. Commissioner Gershenson.
I think it's a great idea. You know, I have extensive background in fundraising, and it is understood that women in particular have a hard time asking people for money. It's an issue of our self-worth, our self-value, because it shouldn't be embarrassing. We all work very hard, and certainly our pay is definitely under other commissioners in the area, of other counties. However, I love the idea of the independent commission. I'm sorry we didn't do it for this round. I didn't even know it was an option, but I think that would be great, that we could all be comfortable with an objective viewpoint, looking at all the numbers, and we would take that embarrassment out of it, because as I see it, it is a very difficult thing that we don't look forward to doing, but that is completely a justified conversation to have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well said. Before we prompt the vote on this item, is there any further discussion? Please prompt the vote. 3 yeas, 2 nays, motion carries. Alrighty. Next up, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is item number E, Human Resources Resolution adopting countywide elected official compensation for 2023. Do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Lubes, support by Commissioner Gershenson. And again, as the only difference with this item is that we're looking at our countywide elected officials, which include our sheriffs, our water resource, our county clerk, our prosecutor. Heather, what am I forgetting?
County executive, county clerk, register of deeds, a treasurer, sheriff, prosecutor, and water resources commissioner.
Thank you. So again, everything that we had discussed with item D is the same outside of. This is now countywide elected officials. Commissioner Gershenson, did you?
I didn't even raise my hand yet, but yeah.
I saw the wheels turning.
Yeah, I was thinking, so all of these positions are full-time positions, and the budget recommendation is 5%, is that correct?
When I'm represented, yes.
It's 5% with an additional 3 the following year, is that correct?
Yes, for now.
So I have no trouble supporting that, but I also wanted to say there has been a great deal of discussion about commissioners having the same raise as the other electeds. So I think we need to talk about that. That's worthy of a discussion, how everybody feels about that. I know I'm comfortable supporting the recommendation as I was for us. I am comfortable.
Just as a small, I'm sorry, I misspoke. This resolution, there is another difference, and that difference is it is for the countywide elected officials just for 1 year starting on January 1st of
Okay, that's different.
2023. It is different. That's why I didn't mean to interrupt you, Commissioner, but it is
that's
a
good.
critical piece. So with
Okay, I
that
didn't
being
realize
said, the countywide elected officials percentage increase of compensation is for 1 year, which would be effective of January 1st of 2023.
So again, I don't have any trouble supporting the recommendation, but I will say that there has been discussion that all the electeds should have the same compensation. So I'm just throwing that out for discussion.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can you pull it up on here? Any other questions, comments, input in regards to this item? Commissioner Joliet?
Recognizing Commissioner Gershenson that they stay consistent with commissioner raises. Again, as Commissioner Lube stated, we set the precedent top down, and so I would recommend the 2.5%.
Okay. So 2.5% for 2023, 5% for 2023.
Correct.
So we're getting some clarification just on the, when it would go into effect. So Heather, can you just confirm, so just as a point of reference, commissioners, on the, I believe it is the last, or the be it further resolved clause, so the very last clause in the resolution, it states that it authorizes the percent adjustment in compensation for fiscal year 2023. So Heather, could you please clarify when that would go into effect? Because the language is different than the elected officials at the Board of Commissioners.
I believe it goes into effect at the beginning of the fiscal year.
Which is?
October 1st.
October 1st?
Yes.
So just to reiterate and clarify, So in the now therefore it be resolved clause on this resolution at hand, it states that the Oakland County Board of Commissioners authorizes a blank percent adjustment in compensation for the county executive, the county clerk of register of deeds, county treasurer, sheriff, prosecuting attorney, and water resources commissioner for fiscal year 2023 that would go into effect October 1st of 2022. Commissioner Gershenson.
So I suppose I would like to consider, and I'd like to hear from my fellow commissioners, that all raises go into effect January 1.
So are you making a motion for an amendment?
I am.
Okay. So Commissioner Gershenson would like to make a motion to strike out fiscal years 2023. And essentially, can we pull the same language, Commissioner, as am I hearing you say that the elected officials from the Board of Commissioners therefore be resolved clause?
Yeah, I'm just going to that right now, but yes, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Yep. Effective January 1, 2023.
So this is the previous item, so striking out fiscal year 2023 and using that same language of compensation.
Yeah, that looks right.
So effective at the commencement of the new term of office on January 1st of 2023.
Except that's not their term of office.
Okay, so Commissioner Gershenson, after some recommendations of the language, how do you fare with, sorry, maneuvering a couple different screens here. So essentially, now therefore be resolved that the county executive, county clerk, register of deeds, county treasurer, sheriff, prosecuting attorney, and water resource commissioners for fiscal year 2023, effective January 1st of 2024.
That works.
Okay.
2024 or 2020?
Oh, 2023. Right. Thank you.
2023. Thank you, Heather.
You can see we're all numbers people here.
So Commissioner Gershenson has made a motion to amend the now therefore be it resolved clause to insert language of effective January 1st of 2023. With that being said, I'm going to read the now therefore be it resolved, Commissioner Gershenson, and please let me know before we move forward with the support. And that is, now therefore be it resolved that the Oakland County Board of Commissioners authorizes a blank percent adjustment in compensation for the county executive, county clerk, register of deeds, county treasurer, sheriff, prosecuting attorney, and water resource commissioner for fiscal year 2023, effective January 1st of 2023.
That works.
So motion made by Commissioner Gershenson, support by Commissioner Joliet. Prompt the vote.
On the amendment, before we do the,
Oh, just doing the amendment on the insert of the language, or should we do it all as one? We could do it all as one.
yeah.
Okay,
So, yeah, if you want, you can sandwich that into, as long, well, this is say, yeah, it depends, because some people might agree
Correct.
with the percentages, but not the change.
so let's move forward. I think it'd be best to do a roll call vote on Commissioner Gershenson's amendment of the inserting of effective January 1st of 2023. And then we'll do another roll call vote on the percent increase of compensation. Are we all under the same page?
Yep.
Okay, So prompt the vote on Commissioner Gershenson's amendment of inserting effective January 1st of 2023. Thank you.
On that amendment, you have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nays. Let's go back to the main motion on the table, which is the percent adjustment increase in compensation for our countywide electeds. So I do know I'm going to call on Commissioner Joliet, Commissioner Gershenson. I know that you two were the first to bring forward a number. So Commissioner Gershenson, your recommendation
Is the 5%.
is 5%. Commissioner Joliet?
2.5.
2.5%. Ladies, is it best to move forward and go the same route we did? We'll break it apart, do 2 separate votes. Okay, with that being said, Commissioner Gershenson has made a motion for a 5% adjustment in compensation for the countywide officials. Support by Commissioner Jackson. Any further discussion? Seeing that there's no further Commissioner Loops?
So that, depending on how this one moves forward, there's another amendment following this, correct?
Yes.
Correct. We have 2 different votes of 5% increase in compensation for countywide officials or 2.5% of countywide elected officials.
So this is the 5%.
So what we're voting on is the 5%. I would just like to say this is a little different for me because one of the things that I believe is the most significant difference between Board of Commissioners and other countywide elected officials, as stated within this resolution, is the full-time and the part-time. Given that there is a difference, and I don't want to discount the workload that we as commissioners have, because let's face it, it's a lot of work. And a lot of times it does exceed a part-time position. But at the end of the day, the title is the title is a part-time elected official versus a full-time countywide elected official. And in light of the difference of the full-time and the part-time, I will be supporting the 5% for fiscal year 2023. Is there any further discussion on Commissioner Gershenson's motion of 5% adjustment increase in compensation for countywide officials? Seeing none, please prompt the vote.
You have 3 yeas and 2 nays.
3 yeas, 2 nays, motion carries. So given that it was 3 and 2, shall we proceed forward for the record? Okay, Commissioner Joliet has made a motion for a 2.5% adjustment in compensation for countywide elected officials. Support by I'll support. I can support it.
We already voted on one that was,
Well,
that
yeah,
passed, so this one.
Well, that's kind of what I asked, but for the record, I think
There's no need for this one.
so we good? Okay, so we're
No
gonna,
motion is occurring.
no motion is occurring for the 2.5% in light of the 3-2 passage of the 5%.
Right.
So then we're back to the original motion.
We are back to the original motion. So the original motion on this item, we will now be getting ready to vote on the insert of a 5% adjustment in compensation for countywide elected officials. So that now therefore be it resolved clause within the resolution will state that the Oakland County Board of Commissioners authorizes a 5% adjustment in compensation for the county executive, the county clerk, register of deeds, county treasurer, sheriff, prosecuting attorney, and water resources commissioner for fiscal year 2023, effective January 1st of 2023. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, please prompt the vote. 4 yeas, 1 nay, motion carries. Thank you so much for joining us, Heather and Kyle, and
Thank you.
thank you, and April. Thank you so much. Commissioners, next up, we'll move on down to item number F, which is Board of Commissioners, Other Action, Solid Waste Planning Committee appointments. This is informational, however, it could result into a roll call vote. Pam, is there any way you could just give us a brief update on where we are and just share the amendment that is coming forward from the Solid Waste Planning Committee? Or one of the, why we're moving forward with where we are today?
Oh, okay.
Is that, sure, if you would, please, thank you.
So I was getting emails from the Economic Development Department letting us know that there is a reason for us to have the Solid Waste Planning Committee to organize, to meet. If a community, they've gotten letters from a community in Rochester that there's a property that could be needed to be added to the solid waste plan. So that would spur a need for them to meet. And so that's why we've come forward with these applications.
Excellent, and just thank you, Pam, for that little insight. I know we've had many discussions on the Solid Waste Planning Committee. And just as a reminder, refresher as well, that the committee consists of 14 members, 4 individuals from the solid waste management industry, 3 members of the general public, 2 individuals from environmental interest groups, 1 individual from a solid waste planning agency, 1 individual representing industrial waste generators, 1 elected official from county government, 1 elected official from city government, and 1 elected official from township governments. And as a reminder that these committee members are appointed to serve a 2-year term, and the committee meets at the discretion of the chairperson, who is elected by the committee. Given this body does the posting and the interviewing of committees, we, per our board rules, can move forward with waiving the interview process or open up applications and proceed through with having the interviews take place here in this committee, like we've done with similar committees that we've opened up applications and conducted interviews. Commissioner Gershenson.
Thank you. So out of these categories, is there one that is not, that we don't have any applicants for?
The cities.
Just the city? Because in the past, we've gone ahead, even, we don't have to have every seat filled, which will slow things down. So I would recommend that we do move ahead, and I'm assuming that the list is attached. Okay, I just haven't pulled it up. Have the applicants on there too?
Pam, the email with
No, these are the current.
Bob.
And the vacancies.
Fabric, yeah, Christopher.
What did he,
We just have the resumes.
so would that business be to repay? Well, there's 300.
No, we do here. Yeah.
Commissioner Gershenson.
So if you look at the applications received and the seats, I mean, clearly, we don't have to interview for county or township or regional or industrial waste. So it's only the 3 other categories, the industry, the environmental interest groups, and the general public. So maybe we could shrink those that that we would consider maybe we could shrink those numbers. And then if the committee wants to interview, fine. Or if the committee wants to appoint.
So in sticking with what we've previously done, it's kind of sticking with that process. So included within this item on the agenda, if you click on the additional files, you will find the Solid Waste Planning Committee applications that we've received. So with that, what I would recommend, very similar, Commissioner, as you is that we review these applications during our next LAGO meeting, come forward with recommendation of, are you saying moving forward with conducting the interviews? And proceeding as we've done as our board rules allow. We'll open up, and we've already opened up the applications as of June 3rd, 2022 was the deadline. So between now and our next LAGO meeting, commissioners, please review the applications that we've received. During our next meeting, we'll narrow down, as Commissioner Gershenson has shared, and then we will move forward with those next steps of conducting the interviews. Commissioner.
And if for some reason there is an emergency that comes up where we have to convene this group before, because we're not meeting again as a committee for a while, I wonder how the group feels about having the incumbents continue if there was an emergency request, because you've got incumbents in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 8 categories. So, and also the ones that we have 1 seat, they're going to be appointed. So I'd hate, if the emergency came up from the community and we had to act, maybe we could have an emergency meeting ourselves, but I think we should be open to letting them meet rather than having to wait.
So, Commissioner, we have to consider a quorum. And even with the number of incumbents that we have across those 7 categories, it's still not enough to actually hold a quorum.
Okay.
So I like where you're thinking, and I like you being proactive on let's have a backup. Let's see if there's any problems with the timeline, because essentially our next Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee meeting is on October 11th, followed by the full board being on October 20th.
Now, if you just appointed those 2, you would have.
So maybe for expediency, we should get our recommendations in for those we want to interview and maybe schedule it for October 11th.
Pam, we can.
I just am not sure how much of a hurry it is.
So we do have 2 options. So option, Commissioner, as you just said, we could most certainly do that with anticipation of, and even so, what we could do is we could hold a brief special LAGO meeting before the 29th.
We've got meetings before the meeting on the 29th, and it's a morning board meeting.
Well, why can't we just appoint the ones where there's 1?
So that essentially would avoid the quorum conundrum, right? So what we could do is, given that there are 1 individual under the Regional Solid Waste Planning Agency, SEMCOG, 1 seat, and given there's 1 individual under the Industrial Waste Generators, 1 seat, we could move forward today with appointing those 2 individuals, because then the concept of a quorum would be there, given the incumbents, because initially it fell short of 2 members to have a quorum. So if we did move forward today, and given that there's only 1 person under each of those seats, we could move forward with appointing those individuals, and then proceeding to still move forward with reviewing the applications and then having those interviews. But we also now have a backup plan in the event of an emergency, meeting being called. We would then have a quorum of this committee. Commissioner Jackson?
Chair, are you making that a motion?
I most certainly would
I'll
make a
support.
motion for, is it Rochelle Barlock, Regional Solid Waste Planning Agency, SEMCOG, and Industrial Waste Generators, 1 seat, Daniel Smith, and seconded by Commissioner Jackson.
You said Michelle?
Commissioners.
Oh, Rachel. Okay, got you. Rachel.
Any further discussion on recommending the appointment of Raquel Barlock for the Regional Solid Waste Planning Agency and Daniel Smith for the Industrial Waste Generators? Seeing none, please prompt the vote.
Okay, 5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nay, motion carries. So Commissioners, as we lead into our October 11th Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee, between now and then, please take a look at the solid waste industry applications, environmental interest groups, and the general public seat. The general public category has the most applicants, so that is an area that I would definitely recommend honing in on, as well as the solid waste industry. Commissioner Jackson.
Point of clarification, we
Sure.
will be interviewing at that meeting. It's not going to be a special meeting before the 29th.
So,
Okay. What I think you had suggested was that the next meeting would be when you pare down who to schedule interviews for at a
Sure.
future.
So we won't be interviewing. So I feel as though we'd have enough time on the 29th, even though it's a morning meeting, to pare down. So that way, since we're going all the way to October, not waiting till October to pare down.
Sure.
Pare down in a special meeting prior to our full board.
sure.
It's a morning meeting. Okay. I'm fine.
I'd support that. We're here anyway.
Right.
One thing to consider is that there is potential for other meetings before the board meeting that morning as well, right now.
Okay. So we do have another option.
Would we have the board meeting after, though? I guess I thought.
So we do have another option in regards to, given that we do have some time before our next LAGO meeting on the 11th, what we could do is that we could, commissioners could still bring forward, narrow down the solid waste industry applicants, the general public applicants, and we could proceed forward with submitting that to analysts and have the interviews on the 11th. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So over the next couple days, please go through the applicants, send your recommendations. Is it appropriate, Pam, to send recommendations to you?
That's fine.
Okay.
Or both of us.
Excellent. So commissioners, let's send recommendations to both Pam and Amy for the solid waste applicants. And then what we can do is we'll send out interviewing dates or times to take place on October 11th. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, are we all comfortable with doing that and proceeding forward? Excellent. With that being said, we've got one last item on our agenda before we go to our final public comment, and that is item G, Board of Commissioners resolution supporting for Michigan Senate Bill 58 and House Bill 4314, holding polluters accountable. Do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Jackson and support by Commissioner Gershenson. Regardless of Chairman Woodward not being here, I can say that this is a resolution that we have continuously brought forward and supported. in regards to holding polluters accountable. And this is, again, it's a non-binding resolution that is just expressing the support of the Board of Commissioners of Senate Bill 58 and House Bill 4314. Any questions, comments on this agenda item? Commissioner Jackson, followed by Commissioner Joliet.
I just want to ask, can I be added to one of the
Co-sponsor?
sponsors? Yeah, co-sponsor.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Commissioner Joliet.
I reached out to our our state rep for by district because I was unfamiliar with this, and I fully support being responsible stewards of our environment and holding those accountable that violate pollution. But with that being said, there's I would like some more time to research this. There's some concern in the language that it recognizes the economy of scales in terms of ability to complete within a timeline. It's the economy of scale that's more concerning for some companies. For the big institutions, I completely get that, and I still think that whether you're small or you're large, you should be accountable for cleaning up. There's just some verbiage in there that's been changed. I would like to research further. So at this point, I'm going to have to not support this and do enough research for the next board meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gershenson?
I'm good.
You're good? I thought I saw one more hand. No, we're good. With that being said, please prompt the vote on item G.
You have 4 yeas, 1 nay.
4 yeas, 1 nay, motion carries. Next up, we'll move on down to our second public comment of our meeting this afternoon. This time, I'd like to open up public comment, and as a reminder, this is for any item on the agenda, off the agenda, that anyone would like to discuss. So at this time, I'd like to open up public comment. If you'd like to make your way to the head of the table, state your name, community in which you reside in. Marsha, can you sit here? I gotta go to the bathroom. Sure.
Your binder's bigger than mine, so.
That's not a good sign, I would tell you. I've only followed for about a year, a little over a year, so this is not a good sign.
Okay, welcome. Please introduce
Thank
yourself.
you, Commissioners. My name's Catherine Kennedy from Lake Orion. And I'm going to remind you, over a year ago, in a finance committee, I warned people about all the excess spending and how that can create a situation where we would be in a position like we were in the 80s with the word stagflation. I even sent a separate email to Ms. Markham warning about all this excessive tax and spend policies, that they were likely to create inflation and stagflation, even worse, where the jobs aren't there, but the inflation's through the roof. So I don't know. You guys often don't listen to me, but you really should. I was a financial analyst for decades and did a really good job on a global level. So overall, interest rates increase on all consumer debt, credit cards, variable mortgages. And on August 26, 2022, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell declared rates will rise until job is done, explaining that there will be a lot of pain, but he was committed to bring inflation down to a 2% target by increasing interest rates for all. I would remind you, in January 21, before all the wasteful spending of the Biden administration that has been followed lockstep by Oakland County Board of Commissioners, the inflation rate was 1.4%. We had abundance of jobs. We did not have an issue with inflation. We didn't have mortgage rates, by the way, that have doubled since Mr. Biden's been in office, because it was 3% when he was inaugurated. I saw the other day it's getting close to in the 5 to 6 range. And all these wasteful spending initiatives are the root cause of inflation. You can't print money, you can't spend it what you don't have. That creates inflation. So the very things and the programs you're initiating, supposedly to help the people that are disadvantaged, is the exact thing that is creating the inflation that's causing them to have trouble to put food on their table, causing them problems with their property taxes going through the roof, and they don't even know about what you approved on May 12th, where all the 6.46% of assessments jumped, that applies to everybody's property taxes. And shamefully, last month, August 12th, they auctioned off our tax foreclosed property in an online sale by a company I had trouble investigating who actually owned in reality. But non-citizens were allowed to buy our tax foreclosed property with simply filling out a form and having a credit card. This is not okay. This is a national security risk. This is a financial security risk. And it's all being done right here and said, yep, we'll go lockstep. So I did a little quick inflation rate walk. Biden inaugurated 1.4%. Biden signs 1.9. COVID relief 2.6%. That was March of 21. Dems proposed 3.9 trillion budget plan.
Please
The
wrap up
inflation
your
then
comments,
jumped to 5.3. I'm almost
Kennedy.
done. Biden signs a $1 trillion infrastructure package. In November 21, the interest rate jumped to, inflation
Thank you,
rate rather,
Ms.
jumped
Kennedy.
to 6.8. Ukraine invasion, we jumped to 7.9. After that, it was 8.5. We're up closer to 9%. We started at 1.4, guys,
Thank
and it
you.
was
Thank
not
you for
too
your
long ago.
comments.
Thank you. Taxing people out of their homes.
They are, giving it to someone else.
Yes, and yes, that's even worse.
Hello, my name is Janice Daniels. I live in Oakland County. My comments are being made with all due respect for a spirit of discussion that needs to take place at these kinds of meetings. It seems to me that government workers long ago forgot that the very existence of government workers is to protect and defend our Constitution, to rein in uncontrolled abuses of power within the three departments of government, and I'm talking about executive, legislative, and judicial, and to secure the liberty of the people. Now, all I remember hearing at any of these boards or commission meetings is you all talking about ways to grow, protect, and defend big government. There's a serious disconnect between the ideals of delegated authorities delineated in the Constitution and the endless picayune ways that you various boards and commissions and judges and legislators, governors, senators, representatives, executive department, hierarchical, self-appointed know-it-alls spend your days and our tax dollars detailing a myriad of reports and rules and pay increases and perks and schemes and systems, always defending big government and never seeming to discuss the protection of the people or their hard-earned incomes that I might say fall far short of your pay scales that you're comparing people to. Where's the constitutional authority that your board has to establish a new board to review appropriations or pay and compensations? Is there ever any discussion about the job responsibilities and are they being done that warrant these pay increases? Is there any discussion of current salaries compared to private sector earnings? Is there any assessment of work product? I mean, what is it that these, again, across-the-board pay increases are given for as if everybody deserves the same amount of money at every time, at every first of every year or fiscal period? I hear this common rationale for your pay increases that you have to compete for a pool of talent. Excuse me, what exactly is the talent that you guys are looking for? I would like to know that because I know that there's a lot of hungry people out on the streets that would do what you're doing for free. In fact, there's a lot of groups, a lot of organizations, a lot of political activities that are going on that people are doing for free in an effort to protect and defend this country. I think you should join us in taking a serious look at what it is that you're doing and what you think you deserve all this pay for. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if I can compete after the two of you. I apologize. You people in this room know me. I did speak with Christian some and Lube. If I mispronounce, I'm sorry. My name is Jody White, and I'm not an Oakland County resident, thank you, but I'm in Wayne County, so we have our own problems in Wayne County. And it is about assessment of our property taxes and what we're getting for our dollar. And one of the things, because I'm a real estate agent since 1983, and I'm looking at the budget that the Sheriff's Department, the men in brown, they get $172 million. They deserve that. The teachers in here, like her, that don't get cushy seats, they get it. The sheriffs and the police should be, and the teachers should get it. I have a question because as a rental person, we own, my family used to own, it's under a court order right now where our building in Farmington, the old winery building, it's a haunted house. I don't know if any of you went there. We've owned the building since 1977, and unfortunately, we have attorneys that are court-ordered by our judges over here, which all of you know. I was arrested and bullied by and assaulted by a sheriff. They stole my video footage, and then they edited it to take down the fact that the man hit me. They tried to do it again this week. So we're going to be at 1 o'clock going in to look at the video footage. I ran for state senate. I've also run for state rep. I'm not winning the job because, I don't know, I must not have enough friends because I'm always working to just expose things that are not proper. I'm a real estate agent, and we don't make a dime unless we successfully sell a home, and then we get referrals because we do a good job. The gentleman, his name is Joe Ehrlich, I have a letter which I'm going to be sending to all of you, 43.5% commission. He wants a $298,000 for the garbage that he's done to my family's estate for the last 10 years. We've been in probate court. We are the longest case in probate court, the John Sterling White case. My name is Jody White. My question today, which again, thank you ladies for setting it up, but currently, the county has 30,000 gross square feet over there in the probate court department that you guys are leasing over there at $17.24. This county is being giving $520,000 of the people's tax dollars to rent that beautiful facility over there for justice. Now, it's not about justice for us, but it shouldn't be the sheriffs that get to take the footage and clip after they've assaulted me. They're back in there trying to assault us again. This time I brought 15 court watchers and a lot of people that wanted to get on Zoom. Judge O'Brien won't let people come on Zoom. People are watching. We want people to leave our properties alone because we do pay our property taxes. Oh, if we own the property, because now that Tom Frazier's been our court-appointed trustee, we're in tax foreclosure. And I'll be darned if somebody from another country comes in and takes the haunted winery building from our family, because we have been in a nightmare for the last 10 years. And so I'm asking respectfully that this $520,000 that is being paid and the judicial administration that you guys are paying, the $10.9 million, of your $1.7 billion. That's what you guys pay in taxes. So I don't know where you guys, 5% of what? I will be done if you could shut that off. I will need 10 more seconds.
Ms. White, please finish.
I will. I just can't think when that thing.
You gotta talk through it.
I'll just talk through it? Okay. Well, again, I can't do this because this is what they do to us in the courtroom. This is not a circus act. This is serious. They're taking our property, and I am very upset about it. So I'm asking you guys all to please come at 1 o'clock. We have it already set up. The sheriffs today, totally constitutional. They went and investigated, and the false allegations that they did was proven incorrect. And so I'm asking you at 1 o'clock to please come, really. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White.
Who is that? Kristen Nelson. Ms. Nelson, thank you. I would like your job someday. That was unbelievable. I'll do it for free. And I'm not even in your county.
Good afternoon. Please state your name and city in which you reside in.
My name is Christina Bood, and I am from Wayne County. And unfortunately, my mother chose Oakland County to be a resident in her elder years, and unfortunately, she was stolen from the courts here when I went to go get guardianship, and they gave her to John Young, who proceeded to end her life. And it was a very suspicious operation, which I'm not even going to get into now because this is for this department. We thought it was the general thing, but you did mention about the environment. And in our studies, we had Gretchen Rachel Hammond, who came up here from Chicago, an award-winning journalist who investigated. Here's the report. It's 5 chapters of everything. You pull up documents, charts, statistics, everything. And it is It was double-checked by the Journal of Forensic Investigative Accounting and peer-reviewed, which means everything that's in here is etched in stone. And there is corruption in that court. And one of the things, talk about environment. You talked about your environment. I taught science, and I know all about the environment. My son won the Gold Award at Cobo Hall in Detroit for his environmental project, so I know about it too. And what I witnessed was a false eviction by one of the guardians over there who took over Mary Basso's home in Bloomfield Hills, put an eviction notice on, told her with Russians in tow, Russian movers, to get out of her house. She had no legal warning of this. In the middle of February, she was out on the street. And I went over there and I witnessed these movers, speaking Russian, moving all of her family's heirlooms out on the lawn. They told her, if you touch anything, including paintings and everything, if you touch anything, we will come back and arrest you. And so she stood out in the cold. They wouldn't let her go back in. We stood in our cars and took photographs and everything, which is part of this investigation. And then I got in my car the second day after they filled up an entire, and they were putting things in their own cars as well, John Munger and Thomas Frazier, and they put it in a big dumpster. I got in my car and followed that dumpster, and I followed it all the way up to the Pontiac landfill dump, where the garbage trucks from the city were in line to get on the scale. And I got my car right behind him. And when I told the guy at the toll booth, I said, where's he taking that stuff? And they said, they've already dug a hole at the top of the hill, and they are going to dump everything in there, furniture, 3 generations of jewelry, paintings, antiques. And I watched and took photos, and then he told me they are going to steamroll it over to hide all the evidence. That's what I was told, and I have photographs to prove it. These men in here are part of a mafia corruption that takes a lot of people to work together, just like the mafia. I've come from Detroit. I know how it operates. You have a kingpin, the judge, who's allowing all these things to take place. But I'm done as far as evidence, and I will quote the Joseph Ehrlich that she mentioned. He told one of the litigants, he said, you're never going to win in probate court because I own probate court. And he's the one that you will see on the film standing against a wall, looking at the judge, against the same wall that I stood at trying to take notes for my friend who was losing all her estate. And I was told by Judge O'Brien to move, get out of the way. What's the matter? Don't you speak English? English. And my last name is Arabic. And so I filed a police report for ethnic intimidation against the Elliott Larson law, which prohibits ethnic intimidation in a public
Ms. Christine, I'd be more than happy to take any written addition to your public comment, but public comment now is over for your 3 minutes. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to address the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee? If so, please make your way to the head of the table and state your name and community in which you reside in. Good almost afternoon.
Good afternoon to one and all. And my name is Miss Patricia Ann Lazenby. That's Lazen, B as in Bible, Y as in Yahweh. I come to speak to you from a different point of view because, first of all, I recognize that God is the only one that institutes government. You guys are only here because of God's grace. You're here by a design ordained order. That means you're not just subject to we the people, but you're also subject to God. So what you do here in this commission room or boardroom or whatever you want to call it, it's not just for yourself. It's not just to fatten your pockets. And sure, everybody wants to be compensated for their work, but you don't overtax your people. There are so many that cannot eat, so many that cannot sleep or find good residential homes because they're being overpriced. We don't even have a government that's looking out for those that's on the street. We got a border that's been bombarded by everything but good people, and yet our veterans are sleeping on the ground. I have 6 grandchildren that's serving in the United States across all 4 governments, all 4 militaries. My grandchildren, everyone is under 25 years young. They were raised to love God, love their family, and to support the country. I don't want to lose my grandkids to people who are just out for themselves. With that being said, please do what God done put on your hearts. Don't just tax people out of their homes. They need their homes, just like you do.
Thank you, Ms. Patricia.
Catch for city residents.
Ms. Patricia, I'm sorry, what was your city of residence?
Wayne County.
Thank you.
Heaven is my real home.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon. Please
Hi,
state your name.
Tasha Shergan from Clarkston. Just touching base on the compensation conversations that happened today. At one point in time, I think it was Commissioner Jackson mentioned the analyst and the coordinator position for the DEI position. And she mentioned something about it being a lone wolf. So instead of just, obviously that position was unneeded, you decide to find 2 more positions. And I think that's at one point in time when April said something like, oh no, that was another thing. When Commissioner Gershenson mentioned the health insurance, where would that money go if we didn't impose it on the employees? And April said, oh, we'd have to take care of it. Just to be clear, we, as the citizens paying the taxes, would have to take care of it. Because when you guys talk about all this spending, you're really talking about spending our money as citizens. And we've seen in the commissioners' meetings with the whole transit piece, with all of that taxing, Senator Johnson, Ruth Johnson, came in and she talked about how it would increase taxes between 4 and 30 times for her residents. That's part of Oakland County. So I understand the majority of the county is in one area, but 2/3 of the citizens are in 1/3 of the county, and then 1/3 of the citizens are in 2/3 of the county. But we're all responsible for the taxes, and quite honestly, we're tired of being overtaxed. We already paid Highland Park's water debt for 10 years. We're done in the excess of taxes. You guys are talking about giving raises. It's so generous that you guys are giving raises, but it's at our expense, and we've had enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Tasha. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to address the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee this morning? Seeing nope. Oh, please come to the head of the table and state your name and community in which you reside in.
Hello, my name is Susan Chargo, and I reside in Wayne County. And I'm sorry, I'm just really emotional because just everything that's going on in our country, like United States is, I love my country. I love my friends here trying to get support. And I'm really, I don't even know why I'm here. I'm just trying to learn the process, discovering that the county commissioners are, they delegate the money, the budget out to each and every county. And I'm not a homeowner, I've never been a homeowner, but it is my desire to possibly one day be one. But at this point, with this administration in office and the borders and everything that's going on in our God-given country, I don't know. I don't even know that I want to even try that because I'm just really concerned. So I'm just here to support everybody and just say God bless America. Dittos to everybody that spoke, my friends here, and I will be by their side to help them achieve whatever we need to get done here. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, welcome and thank you. Good morning. Please state your name and community in which you reside in.
My name is Diane Leach, and I live in the Wayne County area. I'm basically here to support Jody. I was reading some of what happened to her father-in-law, and being a United States American veteran, I'm very upset that he was not totally taken care of by some of the people that he was signed by a guardianship. I've had that happen to my own sister, and I'm very upset about that. The other thing I want to say is that I have seen the money being wasted in our state of Michigan because my son is in the National Guard, and they built a hospital down in Detroit when the pandemic was happening, and it was not used. They didn't put people in there, and I was very upset about that because they were supposed to use that for what it was being built for. And he risked his life to go out there to build that hospital, and yet it was not done. So I've seen waste of money for the state of Michigan. I'm not saying anything about Oakland County, I'm just saying just the state of Michigan. But the veteran thing, when they investigated, they discovered that, I think it was Oakland County that investigated, and they discovered that he was not taken care of properly, and that really upsets me because he was a veteran that died alone, and it causes me a very rough emotion because no veteran should have been alone when he died. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Good morning. Please state your name and community in which you reside in.
Cynthia Mifsud, and I'm in Wayne County. My mother's also caught up in the guardianship, and I was a witness in the courtroom when we were here last week. I think it was September 7th for Jody's father-in-law's case, and everything that's happened in my mother's case is happening to everybody. It's the same MO every single time. You know, they take a person that has a problem, a nefarious, family member or something happens, and they go into guardianship, and they attack the person that hasn't done anything wrong, and they make whatever they can do. They make sure that they get the person's assets, and that is exactly what I witnessed with what is happening with Jody. I was in the courtroom that day, and the guardian is Brendan Frazier, and his attorney was Ehrlich. And when Ehrlich came into the courtroom that day, he strutted in there like he owned the courtroom, and like it was very disruptive. I was looking like, who is this guy? And then he immediately pointed, well, not immediately, maybe 10 minutes in, he pointed and said that Jody was videotaping, and I was sitting right behind her, and she wasn't videotaping. Then he had the sheriffs come in, and they were threatening to take them out of the courtroom. Well, they ended up taking them out. They took her out, they took her husband out, and they weren't doing anything wrong, but they didn't want them to be able to testify on the case that Ehrlich was doing for Brendan Frazier. And there is just so much corruption. The courtroom was very hostile. The Judge O'Brien looked at all of us in the courtroom and threatened all of us that he was going to take our phones and he was going to go through our phones, and he didn't care what we thought of him. And I mean, this is a national problem, this guardianship stuff, and it is happening everywhere, every state. I was just in New York with Senator Palumbo and Senator Barillo talking about new legislation to stop what they're doing. They isolate the elderly. My mother was isolated for 14 months, and they are actually working on something to make that a crime where you can't isolate these people. My mother has dementia. Isolating an 88-year-old woman with dementia should be a crime. It's absolutely ridiculous. And we have the judges that are allowing these things to happen. We have the guardians that are profiting. They took my mother's $275,000 trust, and there's no wrongdoing. The guardian would never speak to myself or my two brothers. They don't want to hear the evidence. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Cindy. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to address the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Commissioners, given that there's no further business, let's stand at ease at 11:43 a.m. Short recess?
So, recessing?
We're recessing.